How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States, and I am glad to be with you today. 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, we're kind of free-forming it today at 11:35. I got summoned to my flagship station to answer theology questions from my buddy Mark Aram. And we are just, it's one of those days. How about that? I did sit with Jonah Goldberg for his Remnant podcast this morning. Had a great hour-long conversation with him. You can go subscribe to Jonah's Remnant podcast. I don't know when the episode comes out, though, but did that this morning. The tide is beginning to turn. This is Representative Gottheimer from New Jersey, the Democratic representative. I think what's a very fair deal is open the government and let's just vote on extending these premiums for a year or more. I don't understand what's so hard about that. And by the way, Senator Thune has offered that, I believe. He said, well, we offered up a vote that we can actually have a vote on extending these premiums. I think when put to it, you're going to see Democrats and Republicans, senators and congressmen and women want to vote for that. Why would you not want to vote to extend help with these tax credits, get premiums down for people? People are really getting hurt right now in their pocketbooks. They really, really need help. So why not give them some help? I personally am opposed. I'm opposed to it. Why do I not want to help these people? I feel bad for the people, but this is Obamacare's fault. And we need to fix Obamacare. You got a lot of Democrats who they want to extend these premium subsidies. But what are you subsidizing? You're not actually subsidizing people. You're subsidizing Obamacare, keeping rates from going up and impacting people. Obamacare is the problem. We need to actually kill Obamacare and fix it. I do not think these premiums need to be expanded. But you've got Democratic Representative Gottheimer from New Jersey, who's more of a moderate Democrat, who's going on Fox News now saying it's time to reopen the government and let's put these subsidies to a vote. John Thune said he'd give the Democrats a vote in the Senate. Let's just reopen the government with clean resolution and do it. The committee chairman, Mast, Foreign Affairs Committee, Brian Mast, says, quote, we need 5 Democratic senators to pull their heads out of their, well, I'll say butts and go to work for the United States of America. Another representative has said Chuck Schumer probably has to wait for Mamdani to give him permission. The tide is turning on the Democrats. If you read my morning piece, text Eric to 33777. Remember, it's ERICK. The Republicans should not go wobbly. In fact, I sent my piece to several Republican senators. I can read you. One gave me permission to read his text message and said, nobody on our side is going wobbly. This is about the Democrats being scared of their base, and we're not going to keep trying to mitigate the shutdown with rifle shot solutions. The rifle shot solution is one thing Republicans had offered. We'll do a bill to fund government employees, will pay the TSA, precisely aimed at some shutdown touch point. And the Republicans are saying now, nope, we're not going to do that. We got to open everything up. And the tide is turning against the Democrats. I played you this yesterday, but I want to play it again for you. This is Harry Enton with John Berman on CNN.
The analyst Harry Enton. Harry, we saw the troops. We talked about air traffic controllers. Not clear their pain will end the shutdown. One thing that might end a shutdown is political pain if parties start to feel that it's hurting them. So let's talk about that, starting with Republicans. How has the shutdown seemed to have affected their political standing?
Yeah, you might think, given that the Republicans are in charge of both the House and the Senate, that a government shutdown might actually hurt the Republican brand. But in fact, It hasn't. If anything, it's been helped a little bit. Take a look here, the shift in net popularity versus pre-shutdown. When we're looking at the Republican Party overall, that brand actually up 2 points. That's within the margin of error, but clearly it hasn't dropped. Come over to this side of the screen. Look at the net approval ratings for Republicans in Congress. It's actually up 5 points since pre-shutdown. So what we're seeing here is the Republican brand in Congress has actually improved somewhat compared to where we were pre-shutdown, despite the fact that Republicans control. And that's the math that John Thune and Mike Johnson are looking at is, well, hey, why should we give, electorally speaking, when our brand has actually improved a little bit?
Now, we say their position is getting better. With whom?
Yeah, okay, with whom? So I think it's two groups that it's so important to keep an eye on. All right, changing the Republican Congress's net approval rating versus pre-shutdown. It's rallying the base for sure. Look at this, the net approval rating up 12 points versus pre-shutdown. But it's not just with the base. It's also with the middle of the electorate. Look at this, among independents. It's up 8 points as well. So we've got a situation here where Republicans with the shutdown are actually rallying their base, but it's also something that's not hurting them with the folks in the middle. If anything, it's helping them with folks in the middle. And this is the type of math that if you're Republicans, you like to see, right? Because something could rally the base but alienate those in the middle, or something could rally those in the middle but alienate the base. But the truth is, we're not seeing that. What we're seeing is the Republican brand has actually gotten better among independents, and it's also gotten better among Republicans as well, that Republican brand when it comes to those in Congress. So again, what's the electoral reason that Republicans would give in at this point?
Exactly. And the Democrats, where are the Democrats right now? Net 3. You go back to 2017 at this time before the big 2018 wave. They were up about a dozen points in the generic ballot. They're only up 3 right now, which tends to actually suggest a Republican advantage, except in the midterms, the party in power tends to do better. So the Democrats have a shot at taking back the House, barely, but they're wiping out all of their advantages. And now the unions are turning on them. This is the union for the air traffic controllers.
Day in and day out, that's now the life of an air traffic controller. The people tasked with making the impossible possible are having it made impossible by not paying them again. So the message is simple. In the shutdown today, there is no excuse that these hardworking men and women are showing up to do this job and to not ever know when they're going to get paid again. So we need America's help. We need you to stand up, and we need you to say enough is enough in this shutdown and ensure that we can move this forward, because we do not want to be up here telling you the sad stories. We want to be up here telling you how we're moving this system forward, how we're bringing in more air traffic controllers than ever, how we're modernizing this system to serve the American people. So again, you cannot stress enough. If you want to take action, contact your congressional representative and tell them in the shutdown today.
Contact your senators. Those of you in Georgia, you have the busiest airport in the world. It is the significant anchor to the economy in the southeast United States, and your senators, Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, are voting to keep the government shut down. In fact, there was a conversation reported the other day about your Senator John Ossoff, who apparently told a group of Democrats that if he reopens the government, he's going to get hurt with the left, but while it's down, he's getting lots of money from progressives. He's fundraising off of keeping the government shut down. John Ossoff is. Your air traffic controllers at Two Dead Mayors International Airport are not getting paid. Your TSA agents are not getting paid. And he apparently is fundraising. So John Ossoff is making money keeping the government closed down, according to John Ossoff. John Ossoff is making money by keeping the government shut down. Raphael Warnock making money keeping the government shut down. But the polling for the Democrats is declining. The polling for the Democrats nationwide, voters are turning on the Democrats. I wrote this morning that Republicans, you need to not go wobbly, cut no deals with the Democrats, make them reopen the government. SNAP benefits run out at the end of this week. Welfare benefits will be cut. People will go hungry. Personally, I think that people need to go find support in their community, their churches and family to help them. We should not have 48 million people on welfare benefits in this country. We need to means test it and also test it for other ways to reduce the number of people on welfare who probably don't need to be there. There actually is, in some cases, a cycle of dependency that the government creates, that the shutdown, maybe by denying the benefits, they'll figure out new ways to find the funds to provide for themselves, and that might be a good thing. But the Democrats, these are the people the Democrats say they champion. Ruben Galeo, the senator from Arizona, said the other day that there are something like 20 million Americans whose health care will be impacted unless they do something, and he's fighting for their health care. There are 45 million Americans who are about to lose their welfare benefits in this country, including food for their children, by this being shut down. And it's the Democrats doing it. This is a Democratic-authored resolution to reopen the government that the Republicans have advanced. Chuck Schumer wrote the resolution when the Democrats were in power, and the Republicans just picked up his language, and they're using it. And the Democrats were perfectly fine to vote for it time and time again, and now they're not. And the tide is shifting. More and more voters are blaming the Democrats. And here, Republicans, is how you mitigate any economic damage and the like. You offer them nothing. You do nothing. Because here's the thing. If Republicans offer any compromise now to the Democrats to reopen the government, the Republicans are going to get blamed. What the American Press Corps, which is on the side of the Democrats, is going to do if the Republicans offer anything is they're going to say, why didn't you offer this on October 1st? Why did you wait until now to make this offer, Republicans? Why did you let this go on as long as it did? It doesn't matter what the Republicans do. If they offer anything at all, they're going to get blamed for the shutdown by the media. So offer nothing. And when the Democrats are forced to vote for the clean continuing resolution to reopen the government because SNAP benefits for 45 million Americans go away, Head Start program funding goes away, air traffic controllers stop showing up for work in greater numbers than they are right now, when they're forced to fund the clean continuing resolution, the only question that will be asked is, why now? Why now, Democrats? Why didn't you do this October 1st? Why did you cave now? And my suggestion, frankly, to the GOP is that you go out there and you start hammering the Democrats that they're still for they, them, not for you. They're scared of they, them. They're more scared of the theys and the thems than they are willing to help you. It was a very effective ad. I talked about this with Jonah Goldberg this morning on his Remnant podcast. The they-them ad that Donald Trump ran was not really about transgenderism. It superficially was for his base. But what that ad was really about was the Democrats are out of touch. Remember in 2024, it was the Democrats who called the Republicans weird. And yet it was the Democrats who backed all these weird niche issues. Niche, as some of you would say. And they're scared of those people. If you text Eric to 33777 and click the first link, that's to my show notes. And my morning piece contains a link. I didn't put it in there because there's a lot of awful language. It's a female progressive podcaster who cusses like a sailor. She plays a clip of progressives at the No Kings protests who were cheering on the assassination of Charlie Kirk, who were happy Charlie Kirk was dead and said he got what he deserved. And when the clip is over, she looks at the camera and she says, establishment Democrats, if you cut deals with the Republicans, we're going to do to you what we did to MAGA. Seems like a pretty clear indication that these progressives are calling for violence against the Democratic leaders. Those are her words. She ends the clip of a progressive partisan saying Charlie Kirk got what he deserved and says, Democratic leaders, if you play nice with Republicans, we're going to do this to you. The Democrats are scared of the progressives. They are more scared of the progressives than they are the 45 million Americans who are about to lose their SNAP benefits to feed their children. They need to be more fearful of the American public than they are the progressive base. We are 28 days into a government shutdown. I got to be on a plane on Friday. It's going to be miserable going through the airport, I'm sure. They're not going to open it before the SNAP benefits run out. But they're going to have to open it. And all I ask of the Republicans is that you offer them nothing in return for opening the government. Offer them nothing so that when they finally vote to open the government, everyone will see it was them all along. And people will ask, why did you shut it down in the process and get nothing in return? And that will begin to define the parameters for 2026. And that puts the Democrats, not the Republicans, on defense.
With the state of today's economy, it is more important than ever to invest in products that last for years to come. As the seasons shift and get cooler, make sure your closet is stocked with durable layers that stand the test of time from American Giant. American Giant's clothes work harder and are wearable season after season. Their greatest hoodie ever made is made of the highest quality materials that are cut and sewn right here in the United States. So you're investing right back into your local community. Choosing American Giant means taking a stand for American manufacturing and hardworking Americans, something other mega corporations don't care about. From fleece to knit, all in a range of colors for versatile daily wear, American Giant delivers everyday pieces designed for everyday life. Feel the difference of quality made-to-last clothes from American Giant. Get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with code STAPLE20.
Friends in Mississippi who are listening to me right now, I saw this story about a group of monkeys in a wreck, and they had herpes and syphilis, HIV and COVID, and these monkeys were on the loose, and I thought that's one of the most awful, racist ways I've ever heard anyone talk about Democratic Socialists of America in my life. Then I realized it was actual monkeys, and they've caught them all. They've eliminated them. They're killing these herpes infected COVID carrying monkeys. There's one that's still loose in Mississippi. Now, listen. If you encounter one that asks you what a grit is, you know it's the bad one, and it's you gotta take it out. Apparently, why are we transporting HIV, herpes, and syphilis and COVID infected monkeys by vehicle through Mississippi? I have no idea, but they did. They have apparently contained the damage minus one missing monkey that I'm sure they'll get to and find. Just be careful. If you see any monkeys in Mississippi right now in the wild, stay away. Oh, the monkeys did. My buddy Joe tells me the monkeys had come from New Orleans. That explains everything. Oh, they weren't socialists. They were partiers on Bourbon Street. That's how they caught everything. Goodness gracious. Now, I got to tell you about my bank, Old Glory Bank. They could be your bank, too, at oldglorybank.com/Eric, oldglorybank.com/ERICK. Old Glory Bank could be your bank. They are my bank, and I love them as a bank. They actually are really good people. Group of conservatives. You know the names: Larry Elder, Ben Carson, John Rich, Mary Fallon, the former governor of Oklahoma. They started Old Glory Bank because they were really concerned about the debanking trends that were happening as progressives control a lot of the national banks, and we're steering those banks to go after conservative interests, and even restrict what you could buy with your debit card. So they started Old Glory Bank, but now they're the fastest growing bank in the country, and they're really great with businesses. They're an online bank. They don't have physical branches you go to, but you can still deposit cash, and they have very hands-on management with their business clients if you need loans, and they do mortgages and other loans and CDs. They're a full-service bank. You can get an account today, get a custodial account for your kids if you need one. oldglorybank.com/Eric, oldglorybank.com/ERICK. Check out Old Glory Bank today. They actually are my bank. I've got a no-fee checking, no-fee savings account with them. oldglorybank.com/ERICK. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. Howdy, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here, 877-973-7425 if you want to be on the program. So we do, if you're new to the program, and I know most of you know this, but when the show comes out, We take all the stuff I'm going to talk about. Everybody asks how you do show prep. There are different people do different things. I know there's one very prominent person in talk radio who actually has someone write an opening monologue for him that he reads. I do everything off the top of my head, which explains a lot, I suspect. And most often, the way I do it is at night, I add a lot of stuff into Slack. I have a little channel in Slack, this online portal that I can share with people, and I pile in all the stuff I'm thinking about talking about, and then I get up in the morning and I sort through it all and I do a show outline. So it's just, here are the 4 topics I want to hit. And little links to these shows. So I don't write out monologues. It's just, here are the 4 things. I've got 4 segments per hour. Here's each segment with links to the articles. And then there are days like today where literally I got up this morning and I have just been pedal to the metal the entire day. I got to my office to do show prep at 11:40, 11:33, had to do radio at 11:35, was done by 11:40. So oftentimes on days like that, God bless him, Philip puts together the show notes, and he is basically my show prep for the day. But I've got a sense of the things I want to talk about, some of which are not in here today, but occasionally we send out the email. And again, if you text Eric to 33777, you can get the email. The very top link in that, you get a bunch of links to social media. You should follow me on Instagram, for example, follow me on YouTube. But the very first link is to the show notes. And you click the show notes, and we send it out right at noon when the show starts, because we used to send it out earlier than that, and other shows stole it and used it as their show prep. And we're like, no, we want to be show prep for our audience, not for other radio shows. Occasionally, a story in the show notes registers with a lot of people. And I know that it's been registered with a lot of people because I start seeing it circulated on social media by a lot of people. And I've seen at least a dozen people crediting the show notes circulate this story on social media. And I thought, I really should dive into this with the rest of you, because I read it and it is a deeply, deeply interesting story that dropped yesterday in the Wall Street Journal. The headline is, "We spent the night shift with the repo man who is busier than ever." Now, side note, years ago, Christy and I were first married. I had an old Buick Skylark my parents had bought for me when I was in law school. And we were at my in-laws one night, and we woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning to a commotion in their driveway. And it was a tow truck. And the tow truck was attempting to tow my car. And my father-in-law got up and went out to talk to the man to ask him what was going on, and he said it was a repossession. And I said, you can't repossess my car because it's paid for. And the man said, no, here's the address and the car. And first of all, it wasn't a white 1994 Buick Skylark. I mean, the guy was towing the wrong model car to begin with. He also had the address wrong. We pointed out. It was very, very, very apologetic. But I was like, dude, you are going to get your butt sued by somebody. And that was my only experience with the repo truck is the guy was trying to repossess my car, and he had not only the wrong model car, but also the wrong address and was trying to haul my car away. This is from the Wall Street Journal. From the cab of his tow truck, George Dowdy clicked a remote control to slide the boom under parked Chevy tracks and grab its front tires. In seconds, the veteran repo man dragged the blue SUV into the cool night. Soon after, colleague Jay Cavanis hooked a Jeep Grand Cherokee in a nearby town. The men dropped their respective hauls at a Maryland lot crammed with cars whose owners couldn't or didn't make their payments. Then they went hunting for more. They aimed to make good on the message affixed to Dowdy's tow truck. Don't make it, we take it. Lately, there's plenty for the taking as some car loan delinquency rates reach record highs. An estimated 1.73 million vehicles were repossessed last year, the most since recession-racked 2009, according to automotive service business Cox Automotive. There are signs the surge continues. This year's repo volume at Cox's Mannheim auctions unit was up 12% through the end of September compared with the same period last year. It's like history repeating itself, said Detroit repossessor George Baden, president of Allied Finance Adjusters, a trade group. Pandemic-era consumer protections left the repossession industry idling. Now, he said, companies are making money because of the volume. It's so big. You're in a target-rich environment. The catch? Volume is more crucial than ever. Middlemen, known as forwarders, are increasingly hired by lenders to oversee the repossession process, pushing the companies that actually find and recover cars further down the food chain, shrinking their profit margins. Okay. This is a fascinating story in the Wall Street Journal, and we put the free link in the show notes. And again, if you text my name to 33777, you can get the very first link goes to the show notes, and the very top story there is this. And it's a very, very fascinating story of what's going on. Dowdy's truck is a mobile command center. A laptop on the center console dings like a supermarket scanner every time license plate readers attached to the truck capture another car's tag. And the computer squawks when it spots a possible repo candidate. 2 smartphones run apps showing target addresses. Despite the technology, dead ends are common. Many addresses are wrong or old. Plate readers trigger false positives. Right tag, but wrong state. People at risk of losing their cars hide them in garages or behind fences. Another challenge, many cars look similar. It reminds me of Where's Waldo, says Dowdy, 47, a former chef and a longtime tow truck driver who branched into repossessions in 2014. They got a smartphone app, and they've got little pins where all the possible cars to be repossessed are. And the numbers are going up. Yesterday, something happened in the stock market, and it's not the first time it's happened lately, but it was far more significant than I think a lot of people want to admit or realize. Yesterday, the S&P 500 closed up, but 85% of the companies on the S&P 500 were down. I need you to think about that for a minute. 85% of the stocks on the S&P 500 closed down yesterday, but the S&P 500 index closed up. It's up 17.18 right now. So a majority of the companies were actually in decline yesterday. But the index itself was up because it's so overweighted with these top stocks. It makes the economy look better than it is. Now, this isn't partisan mudslinging. I'm not attacking the president or anything like that. I'm not even going to talk about tariffs here. It's just there are problems in the economy, and you know where the problems actually come from. I could say tariffs, but there's actually a bigger problem in the economy. And it's that the Democrats, the Democrats, just bear with me here, I think you'll agree, they poured so much money into the economy during COVID. Not only did it spark inflation, but it built up a little bubble and a cushion for a lot of people, and the good times are over for those people. It made them feel secure. A lot of people were able to buy cars because they had handouts from the government. Well, the government handouts have gone away. And it made the economy look stronger than it was. Repossessions are an indicator of something unhealthy in the economy. You know, the other thing is more and more people are falling behind on credit card bills. They're falling behind on credit card bills, and they can't keep up. Now, I told this story before, and this story, it cracks me up every time. 2021, Philip and I went to Las Vegas. I actually had to go out there for a meeting We were going to goof off, but I also had a meeting, so I could make it all work together. And we went out to dinner. We went to Del Frisco's Double Eagle Steakhouse, and we were having a hard time getting Uber the entire time we were there. And we finally got an Uber on the way home from the steakhouse. It was this young Hispanic guy. I think his name was Max. Yeah, probably not his real name. And I said, "What is going on in Las Vegas?" He says, "What do you mean nothing's going on in Las Vegas?" I said, "We can't get an Uber out here." So this is the first time I've ever struggled to get a car to pick me up anywhere. It's like taking 20 minutes. He says, "Oh, because nobody's working." And so, "What do you mean nobody's working?" He said, "Well, we got so much money from the government to not work. A lot of drivers stayed home." And said, "I'm one of the few who's out there regularly working still." I said, "Well, how? Why?" Guy, his actual answer was, and Philip could attest this, his actual answer was, "Because I like steak and hookers." That was his actual answer. I'm not making that up. We died laughing. We appreciated his candor, but he's like most he's like, "Look, I got expensive tastes, and so I'm working because I can make more money than I'm getting from the government." But a lot of these guys are making more money by not working, and they've upgraded their cars, and they're not driving their cars. And he saw the problem in 2021. This guy who liked steak and hookers and was an Uber driver, he saw the problem that he had a lot of his competitors were at home not working, but bought nice new vehicles with their COVID money. And at some point, they were going to have to pay those cars off, and they're not, and they're getting repossessed. And people are no longer paying on their credit cards. And the Democratic policies of subsidizing people during COVID, that in intellectual honest fairness, the Republicans started, because remember, COVID happened when Trump was president. It was the Republicans who decided to pay people to stay home. It's gotten worse. And we've got underlying weaknesses now. I mentioned that Harvard study, which has gotten very little attention, that the economy actually grew at 0.1% the first half of 2025 when you subtract out AI and data centers and the energy costs related thereto. The economy actually didn't grow. You talk to small businesses, they're unable to pay higher wages right now. A lot of them are not hiring. And, we'll talk in the third hour. The Federal Reserve will know before we get off the show today, is the Fed cutting interest rates again? They're flying blind, though. The government's closed. We got the CPI numbers. Everybody assumes the CPI numbers are right. We're not 100% sure because the government's closed. We don't have any labor force indicator numbers. The private sector numbers don't look good. The private sector numbers are not as reliable as the government sector, which we know are not reliable, and yet they're more reliable than the private sector. There are economic headwinds building. And by the way, the Democrats keeping the government shut down plays a role in GDP. Why? I had Kelly Loeffler on the program on Monday. She's the head of the Small Business Administration. There are 329 businesses a day that get loans from the government to help them continue their business while they're getting on their feet. And those businesses are not getting their money from the government. They're not getting their checks. They're not getting their loans. They're not getting their grants. It slows everything down and it backs up the system. And this is part of the problem with the shutdown, in addition to everything else. When you have the repo guys out saying this is just like the financial crisis in 2009, you should be seeing the red flags raised in the economy. And because the stock market keeps going up, people look at the stock market and they say, well, I mean, that just proves the economy is doing well. It proves it's doing well until the moment it doesn't. The stock market's not really a sign of the health of the economy, and you're looking at the top line number. You're not looking at 85% of the stocks in the S&P 500 went down yesterday. You're looking at the closing number of the S&P 500, which is overinflated for some of these massive companies in the S&P 500. There are problems. These aren't partisan problems. Everybody can make them partisan problems. My point is just that the Republicans and Democrats in Washington need to recognize there's something fundamentally wrong underlying the economy. You all do too. And we need to start thinking about what it is that's affecting the economy. And I do think one of the answers was the government during COVID overreacted and threw too much money into the economy, propping people up. That money is coming back now. It stopped flowing. People have used it up. These people have sat on the sidelines for a while and now are entering into an economy that is unable to absorb the new labor because costs are high. Inflation's still up. That's fundamentally not a sound thing, and that may actually be why in the third hour we find out the Fed is cutting interest rates again because they're more concerned about the labor markets than inflation and trying to fire back up the economy, which I kind of hope they do. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, very happy to have you guys. Programming note: this Friday and next Friday, actually, I will be out. I gotta take trips this week and next week, weekend trips. But I gotta leave on Friday to make a speaking engagement next week, and I suppose I should say, because, I mean, they're going to figure it out because they obsessively track me. My dad's been under the weather, so I canceled some stuff on Friday afternoon and decided to take off work to go see my dad, who my niece just texted me. He's in the hospital, getting better, had an infection, but had to go to the bathroom and took his phone with him so he could listen to me. So I don't know what he's doing in the bathroom at the moment, but he should know that I hope he's cleaned up and flushed by Friday, because I'll be there Friday afternoon to see them. I hope he's out of the hospital by then. I hope he's better. So prayers for my father are appreciated, as he is on the mend with some health issues, waiting for some MRI results this afternoon. My wife, you should also know, because I've gotten a lot of questions, she's just not well. This is the first time in a while that she has had struggled to bounce back. You know, she had rhabdomyolysis, which is a very fancy way of saying that she worked out too hard at the gym and overworked her muscles, and instead of building muscle, her body started breaking down her muscle, and was in the hospital for a number of days and just has not bounced back. And we're expecting her to, but it is a way slower process than it's ever been in the past. So the prayers are greatly appreciated, very, very much appreciated. Americans for Prosperity is out rallying conservatives around the country, and they would love to have you engaged with them at afpvolunteer.com, where you can become just very informed about the issues of the day from a conservative perspective, or actually engaged to advance public policy, whether it is fighting for common sense conservative reforms for school choice or deregulation, for small businesses, for the president's tax cuts. There's so much out there that you can do to advance conservatism, and they want you to play a part. They're the largest and leading grassroots group in the country, and they would love to have you involved, whether you just want to be the most important person in your circle of friends, or if you want to engage. You go to afpvolunteer.com, afpvolunteer.com, sign up with Americans for Prosperity today, get engaged in the process, and help make a difference in the country.